My name is Evelyn Harper. I'm 31 years old. And 6 weeks before my wedding, I learned that you don't always lose people in explosions. Sometimes you lose them quietly, over a kitchen counter, beneath a manila folder, while dinner is still warm and the future is already being rewritten without your consent. If you'd asked me 2 months ago whether I trusted my fiancé, I wouldn't have hesitated. Of course I did. We'd been together for 2 years, engaged for 8 months. No cheating scandals, no dramatic breakups, no screaming matches that made friends take sides. We were steady. The kind of couple people pointed to and said, "See, that's what normal looks like." Which is probably why I didn't notice the warning signs when he walked in that night with a strange smile and a folder tucked under his arm. "Hey, babe," he said, setting it down like it was junk mail. "I need you to sign something real quick." I laughed. "Is this about the seating chart again?" "No," he said too casually. "Just a prenup." That word landed wrong. Not loud, not dramatic, just off, like a note slightly out of tune. "A prenup?" I repeated. "Now?" "Yeah," he shrugged. "My friend helped draft it. Standard stuff." That was red flag number 1. Standard things don't require friends. They require lawyers. I opened the folder anyway, mostly out of curiosity, mostly because I still trusted him. Page 1. Fine. Definitions. Legal fluff. Page 2. Still normal. Page 3? I laughed out loud. Actually laughed. "This is a joke, right?" I asked, turning the page toward him. He frowned. "Why would it be a joke?" "Because according to the document in my hands, everything I owned, my house, the one I bought before I ever met him, my savings, my retirement, became joint property the second we said I do. And his $80,000 in student loan debt? Mine. Sole responsibility. In the event of divorce, assets split evenly. Debt stayed with me. I covered all household expenses so he could focus on his career. If we had kids, I paid 100% of childcare costs. What's mine is ours. What's his is also mine." I looked up at him slowly. "You're joking," I said. "It protects both of us," he replied. "How?" I asked. "I take on all your debt and give up half my assets." "Well," he said, tilting his head, "you make more money." That was when something inside me went still. I make good money. I also worked hard for it. And somehow, in his mind, that meant I owed him insulation from consequence. "I'm not signing this," I said calmly. His smile vanished. "So you're already planning for divorce?" The manipulation was almost impressive. I stood up, grabbed my keys. "No," I said. "I'm planning not to ruin my life." "You walk out now," he snapped. "There's no wedding." I met his eyes. No wedding sounds great. I left him standing there with his folder, his fake legal confidence, and the first bill of consequences. And I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment everything escalated. I slept on my older sister Lauren's couch that night. Not because I was devastated, not because I was crying into throw pillows, but because my brain wouldn't slow down. I kept replaying his tone, the way he said standard stuff, the way he framed generosity as obligation, the way his ultimatum came so easily, like he'd rehearsed it. Lauren didn't say much when I told her what happened. She listened, asked to see the prenup, read it twice. Then she handed it back to me and said quietly, "Evelyn, this is financial abuse." That word stuck. I didn't block him. Not yet. I wanted a record. By morning, my phone was already full. "Baby, please come home. You're overreacting. We need to talk like adults. You're throwing away our future over paperwork." By noon, the tone shifted. "I can't believe you're doing this to me. Everyone is going to think I scared you. Do you know how embarrassing this is for me?" That night, I didn't respond. The next morning, he showed up at my office. I didn't know until security called my extension. "There's a man here asking for you," the receptionist said hesitantly. "He says he's your fiancé." I felt my stomach drop. I stepped into the lobby and saw him pacing near the front desk, jaw tight, eyes already scanning for me like I'd wronged him by not being where he expected. "Evelyn," he said loudly, too loudly. "We need to talk." "Not here," I said. "You walked out on me," he replied, "in the middle of wedding planning." "I asked you not to come here," I said, keeping my voice steady. He raised it anyway. "So you're just going to ghost me after 2 years?" People were staring now. Security stepped in before I had to say anything else. He argued, claimed I was being dramatic. That couple's fight, that this was private. They escorted him out. My boss pulled me aside later and asked if everything was okay. I told him the truth. Engagement ended, boundaries crossed, situation being handled. He nodded, then said something that surprised me. "Document everything." Good advice. That evening, his mother called. She didn't ask how I was. She asked why I was doing this to her son. Marriage means compromise, she said sharply. A woman should support her partner. Support doesn't mean absorbing debt I didn't create, I replied. She sighed. You're being selfish. I didn't raise my voice. I'm being responsible. She hung up on me. The next day, my fiancé sent me a long message explaining that he forgave me and we could move forward if I apologized and came home. I replied with one sentence. I'm not apologizing for refusing to sign a one-sided prenup. The engagement is over. 10 minutes later, another message. Fine. Then you owe me $15,000 for my half of the wedding deposits. I laughed out loud because I had receipts. Every venue deposit, every vendor payment, every confirmation email, every dollar came from my account. I replied with screenshots in one line. Check your bank records. Silence. 2 days later, the venue called me. They said my fiancé wanted to keep the wedding date with someone else and asked if I wanted to transfer the contract into his name. Yes, I said immediately. Please do. I forwarded him the paperwork and washed my hands of it. 2 hours later, my phone rang. He was screaming. They want $12,000 by next week. I paused. Isn't that interesting? I said. That's exactly what you wanted me to do with your debt. This is different. How? Silence again. That night, Lauren brought me tea and said, You didn't dodge a bullet. You stepped out of the way while it was already flying. And I realized something unsettling. The moment I stopped being useful, I became the villain. And he was just getting started. The lawyer didn't even finish reading the prenup. He stopped halfway through page 4, took off his glasses, and looked at me like someone who'd just watched a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat, only the rabbit was on fire. Where did you get this? He asked. My fiancé, I said. His friend drafted it. He exhaled slowly. This wouldn't survive 10 minutes in court. That was the moment my anxiety finally shifted into something else. Relief. Clause by clause, he broke it down for me. Entire sections were unenforceable in our state. The debt transfer provision was outright illegal. The language was sloppy, inconsistent, and in some places contradictory. This isn't just bad, he said. It's amateur. Then he did some digging. The so-called paralegal friend? Not a paralegal. Not a lawyer. Not anything close. She was a life coach who had taken a single online legal course and apparently decided that was enough to draft binding documents for other people's marriages. I sat back in my chair, stunned. So he tried to scare me into signing a fake prenup? I asked. Yes, the lawyer said gently, or at least pressure you into thinking it was legitimate. We sent a letter that afternoon. It outlined exactly why the prenup was invalid, warned him to stop contacting me, and formally demanded he cease showing up at my workplace or home. He texted me that evening. I can't believe you got a lawyer. This is so dramatic. I didn't respond. 2 days later, I learned just how premeditated all of this had been. A friend of mine, someone still loosely connected to his social circle, sent me screenshots. Group chat messages, weeks old. Messages from my fiancé talking about securing his future, making sure Evelyn handles the debt, getting everything locked in legally. It wasn't panic. It wasn't protection. It was planning. My lawyer loved that. He updated the cease and desist to include evidence of intentional financial manipulation. And then my ex crossed another line. He showed up at my house. I wasn't home, but my doorbell camera caught everything. Evelyn, let me in, he said, knocking harder each time. We need to talk. I spoke through the app. Leave. You can't keep avoiding me. Watch me. He refused to go, so I called the non-emergency line. When the officer arrived, watching him explain why he needed to speak to his ex-fiancée, who had explicitly told him not to contact her, was surreal. The officer told him to leave. When he argued, the officer warned him about trespassing. He left. An hour later, I got a text. Calling the cops on me? Real mature. I forwarded it to my lawyer. The next morning, his mother emailed me. Subject line, you will regret this. 3 paragraphs about how I was ruining my life, how her son was a catch, how no man would tolerate a woman like me. I forwarded that too. My lawyer replied, document everything. This family is unhinged. The wedding was 4 weeks away. I spent that weekend at Lauren's cabin instead. We grilled, played cards, turned our phones off. For the first time since that folder hit the kitchen counter, I slept through the night. Meanwhile, my ex still hadn't canceled the flowers, or the DJ, or the catering. And I had a feeling the fallout wasn't over. Not even close. The wedding date came and went. I didn't wake up crying. I didn't spiral. I didn't check my phone until noon. Instead, I was at my sister Lauren's cabin, wrapped in a hoodie that smelled like pine and coffee, listening to the quiet hum of a place where no one expected anything from me. That morning, my lawyer emailed first. Update. The venue had officially filed suit against my ex for the remaining $12,000 balance, plus late fees. He hadn't paid. He hadn't signed the transferred contract. He'd told them, apparently, that I would take care of it. The paper trail said otherwise. 2 hours later, my phone rang. I knew it was him before I answered. "They're suing me," he said, voice cracking. "You have to help me." I stared out at the lake. "Why would I help you?" I asked calmly. "Because you transferred the contract to me knowing I couldn't pay." "No," I said. "I transferred it because you said you wanted the wedding." Silence. "I can't afford a lawsuit," he whispered. I exhaled slowly. "You should have thought about that before trying to legally bind me to your debt." He snapped then, called me vindictive, cruel, punishing him over one mistake. I stopped him. "You spent months planning how to trap me financially. You brought me a fraudulent prenup. You harassed me at work. You showed up at my home after being told not to. These aren't mistakes. This is a pattern." He said quietly, "I loved you." "People who love you don't try to scam you," I replied. I hung up. Blocked his number. Finally. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed again. 3 voicemails, all from him. I didn't listen until that evening. The first one was confusion. "I can't believe you're really not showing up. Everyone's asking where you are." The second was panic. "My mom paid the venue last minute. They invited everyone anyway. This is humiliating." The third was rage. "I hope you're happy. You ruined the best day of my life." I called a friend who had been invited to the original wedding. He filled in the rest. Apparently, his mother had paid the venue balance the day before. They went through with the entire event. Ceremony, reception, dinner, dancing. Except there was no bride. My ex stood alone at the altar and gave a speech about toxic women, broken commitments, and how he deserved better. Then they opened the bar. Most guests left after the ceremony. The ones who stayed were family and a few close friends. Total cost to his mother? Around $18,000. I saved the voicemails. My lawyer told me to keep everything. Final accounting was messy, but clear. I lost about $12,200 in deposits and cancellation fees. It hurt. But my lawyer pointed something out that stuck. "You would have lost a lot more in the divorce." He was right. Family fallout fizzled fast. His parents tried sending my parents a bill for wedding expenses. My parents sent back receipts proving they hadn't paid for anything yet. That ended that. The life coach who wrote the prenup refused to refund him. He left bad reviews. She threatened to sue. He backed down. Karma didn't rush, but it showed up. I changed my locks, updated my security system, blocked his entire family. I signed up for a real financial planning course and learned more about asset protection in 3 weeks than I had in my entire life. The wedding would have been yesterday. Instead, I grilled steak, won $50 playing cards, and slept peacefully. Was it expensive? Yes. Was it painful? Absolutely. But finding out who someone really is before signing legal documents? Priceless. To anyone standing where I stood, being told love means obligation, compromise means surrender, and boundaries mean selfishness, trust your gut. If someone tries to trap you financially, legally, or emotionally, walk away. The short-term loss is nothing compared to the lifetime you save.